That is baseball. This is Baseball Tonight host Karl Ravech with us. And just like we all expected, Ravi, right? All-stars up and down both lineups. And it's Miguel Rojas coming through with the big knock in the big spot. Why was this about more than just that clutch homer, though?
Well, it was with Rojas because I think what a lot of people never get a chance to see is all season long, while Mookie Betts was transitioning to a shortstop position, Rojas was the guy out there whispering in his ear. And like Rajai Davis in 2016, the World Series presents stars. He did it with the bat. He made an amazing acrobatic play here. He was put into the Game 6 because of Dave Roberts' gut feeling. He made it a phenomenal scoop there to help end Game 6, a bare hand play in Game 6. The stage presents not only the superstars, but guys like Rojas, and he is as beloved as anybody in that clubhouse. But his impact on Mookie Betts throughout the course of the season, fittingly, it was Betts who did the unassisted double play to end the game. Miguel Rojas is a glue guy, and you need a glue guy to help win World Series. It was a special, special night for him in that organization.
So now the Dodgers go back-to-back, and Ravi, years from now, Sam and Hannah are going to ask you to recount a story from this World Series to then your many grandchildren. What is going to stand out?
Well, probably the text messages I was getting from all those people early in the morning. Thank goodness for daylight savings time. But what stood out was the fact, this was, as John Schneider said, a lot of people said, Dodgers are going to roll in this series. Dodgers have all the stars. Well, you knew if this thing got to Game 7, it was going to be the stars who came out of the bullpen. And when you talk about Yamamoto, and you talk about Ohtani, and you talk about Snell, and you talk about Glasnow, they didn't change the way that these two teams are going to be perceived, but that's over $1.3 billion that pitched in that game last night in committed contracts. Think about the Cy Youngs. Yes, they did have the talent, but the Blue Jays and Schneider, like you said, they're going to kick themselves. They left, 17 men on base, 14 men on base, went 3 for 17 with runners in scoring position. This was such a statement about baseball and how great it can be and how quickly it can be played. And I'm glad I heard you mention, Randy, there were no errors in this game. There was one stolen base in this game. It was clean. It was crisp. The stars showed up. But as we just talked about, Rojas, who's not a superstar, it's his second home run against a right-handed hitter all year. And it comes in the biggest spot.
Ravi, we essentially had 8 World Series games in this series because the 18-inning game. 91 stands out, 97, 01. Where does this World Series rank to you among some of the best all time?
Yeah, I mean, it's top 3, top 5 all time. I think a lot of people tend to forget about 01, and that had amazing comebacks. Yankee Stadium shook, but of course it was in the shadows of a horrific 9/11 event. That, as far as Game 7s go, was right up there with all of them. Again, another guy, Luis Gonzalez, delivering a big hit in that game against the superstar closer. Mr. November shows up in some of these series. It's a top 3, top 5, and recency bias. When you look back at this series, Ernie Clement's become now a legend in Toronto. It's a likable group of players. Vlad Guerrero has established himself on that same echelon as every other superstar, offensively and defensively. And he got his contract. The Blue Jays decided to invest in baseball, and it paid off. It was a top 3 World Series of all time with one of the greatest Game 7s of all time, for sure.
On that number 3, it's the third winner-take-all World Series game to go at least 11 innings, joining 1924 and 1997. Ravi, awesome to get a couple minutes with you this morning on SportsCenter. Thanks, brother. Oh, here we go. Back-to-back World Series, just the 5th time that it has happened in the last 50 years. The Reds, they did it in 75, 76 behind the Big Red Machine led by Johnny Bench, Pete Rose, Tony Perez, Joe Morgan. Of course, a couple decades later, the Yankees made an appearance on this list. Actually, this was still in the 70s. We'll get to the 90s Yankees. 76, Yankees got Reggie Jackson, 3 home runs in Game 6 to win the 77 series. They won in 6 games in 78 as well. There's those 90s we're talking about. The Blue Jays didn't get it done this year. They did go back-to-back in 92, 93. Those titles best remembered by Joe Carter's iconic walk-off jack in Game 6 of the 1993 World Series. And the Yankees, they did it again, winning 3 straight from 98 to 2000. behind that core four of Jeter, Jorge Posada, Andy Pettitte, and Mariano Rivera. They swept the Padres and the Braves. Then they beat the Mets in 5. Finally, last night, this Dodgers team win the first back-to-back World Series in 25 years. They're 9th overall, tied with the Red Sox and A's for the 3rd most all-time. Now the stage is set to match that Yankee team.
It's Gary and Randy back with you. No, you spilled coffee on your shot sheets.
Sure did. Did you clean it up from the floor?
I did.
As well?
I did.
Because I have video evidence that
you have video evidence?
kind of lingering
you
around.
have video evidence?
Yoshinobu Yamamoto, who won Game 6 the night before, clinching things and winning things in Game 7. So let's take you back. World Series Game 2. Yamamoto retired his final 20 batters, the longest streak to end a postseason game since Don Larsen's perfect game in the 1956 Fall Classic. The Dodgers won that one 5-1. Game 6, Yamamoto picking up right where he left off. This in the bottom of the 4th against one of the hottest hitters this postseason, Vladdy Wagon. And then in the 5th, Alejandro Kirk gets jammed up. And then Addison Barger, just 97 on the black. 6 strong, 5 hits, 1 earned, 6 Ks. This is Dave Roberts after Game 6.
Everyone will be available.
You don't know who you're going to start yet?
No,
That's
not
TBD.
yet. TBD.
When you say everyone, does that include Yamamoto?
Not Yamamoto. Sorry.
Because that was after Yamamoto pitched in that Game 6 to force a Game 7. He threw 96 pitches. Well, guess what? He was back out here in Game 7. We're flashing back the last time we saw a pitcher win Game 6 and Game 7 in the World Series, November 7th, 2001. It was Randy Johnson, the big unit, threw 1 1/3 innings after throwing 7 innings in Game 6. Diamondbacks won. Johnson, he'd be the co-MVP alongside Kurt Schilling. All right, back to Game 7 Saturday, bottom of the 9th, 1 out, bases loaded. Miguel Rojas, who played exceptional defense for the Dodgers. This was you heard Karl Ravech say it, just a crispy game in Game 7. Andy Pages, a defensive replacement in center field. Good call, Skip. Yamamoto forcing things into extras, 2 2/3. He said through an interpreter after this game, he didn't know if he could actually throw in this game up until he got warm. Well, guess what? He threw, he saw it through, he won Game 6, he won Game 7. Yamamoto, your World Series MVP.
Hearts pounding. Blue Jays lead by just 1.
Rojas hits it in the air, left field. It is gone! Game 7 is tied!
2 outs, bottom of the 9th.
Clement lets it in the air. They converge. Pajes makes the catch. Oh my gosh! We're going to extra innings.
4-4, top of the 11th.
Smith with a smash. Out of here! Smith breaks the tie. Yamamoto against Kirk. Broken back, ground ball. Betts has it, steps on the bag. The throw to first. Double play! From backs against the wall to back. The Dodgers cement their dynasty.
These Dodgers, they trailed 3-0 after 3 innings last night. It was their first comeback win after trailing by 3 or more runs when facing elimination in a postseason game. They entered with a 0-22 record in that scenario. LA now tying the Red Sox and the Athletics for the 3rd most World Series wins in Major League Baseball history, trailing only the Yankees and the Cardinals. Tracy and Scott back with you at SportsCenter AM. I'm told this is not a forest green, this is a moss green.
It's more of a moss green, could potentially be a sage green.
A little sage green for our guy. Plenty of green in terms of the World Series winning.
I think Shohei just seems like a superhero. And in the biggest of games or the biggest of moments, he seems to always deliver.
I was going to say the postseason win share.
Let's skip
for these Dodgers.
You know what I'm saying?
And here's the thing: when you're making $750 million on your contract, you need the extra scratch. That's Ohtani as we run through.
Clean up a little bit. Clean up a little bit.
Go back to Game 1 of the wild card. 2 home runs against the Reds. The second one, 454 feet. Then he started as the pitcher. Game 4, NLCS. All he did to the Brewers was whatever he wanted to do to the Brewers. 10 Ks over 6 shutout innings. And the dominance continued at the plate. Led off, bottom first, Tater Tot. First leadoff homer by a pitcher in Major League history. In the 4th, 469 feet of We Need a New Baseball. Listen to what Ohtani did in the 7th.
Ohtani, did he? Ohtani!
probably the greatest postseason performance of all time. And there's been a lot of postseason games, and there's a reason why he's the greatest player on the planet.
You're not going to get a dispute from this desk. How about Game 3 of the World Series? Blue Jays at Chavez Ravine, 4 for 4 at the plate, 2 doubles and a pair of homers. So that's 4 extra base hits. In his other 5 at-bats, Shohei Ohtani walked 5 times. 4 of them were intentional. First player in postseason history to reach base 9 times in a single game, Freddie Freeman.
He's a unicorn. It's just, there's no more adjectives you can describe Shohei.
Yeah. No other. Unicorn's a good one, though. That's not even an adjective. That's a noun. That's a fictional noun. Here we are, Game 7, and he's pitching.
You've lost me, bro.
He's starting, and Bo Bichette was glad to see him. That was deep. That was gone. Longest home run in a Game 7 since ESPN began tracking that in 2006. So Shohei's night as a pitcher was over. 2 1/3, 3 earned. But his battery mate, Will Smith, the catcher, would go ahead and hit the go-ahead home run in the 11th. And Shohei Ohtani is a World Series champion. Back-to-back World Series champ, 5-4. Look at Ohtani, like 2 seasons with the Dodgers in the books, 2 rings. He's reached base now 34 times across 17 games in this postseason alone. That's the second most by a Dodgers player all time in a single postseason. Only Max Muncy in 2020 was better.